Mark Wahlberg, the king of the mediocre. He's one of those actors who is forever busy churning out many, many films. But for me, he's an actor where you kind of look at his career and think, nah, has he really made many good films? Has he really made many bad films? Well, I'm going to explore in today's video 5 good films that Mark Wahlberg has made, 5 bad films that Mark Wahlberg has made, and 1 damn ugly film that Mark Wahlberg has made. Hopefully, if this goes down quite well, I will continue and make this a series, and I would love to hear some suggestions in the comments. But without further ado, let's get started on this Mark Wahlberg video. Right, so the first film that we're going to look at is one of Mark Wahlberg's good films, in my opinion. And I don't think many people here would disagree when I say that The Fighter is certainly considered to be a very, very good Mark Wahlberg film. Maybe unfairly, most of the attention was taken away from Mark Wahlberg because of the incredible performance by Christian Bale. And many others in the film. I'm not saying that Mark Wahlberg is the best thing in this film, but it is actually a fine performance by him, and it's a very, very good film indeed. And if you haven't seen it, I do suggest you check it out. So The Fighter is definitely a good film that Mark Wahlberg has made. Now we're going to look at one of his bad films. And the first film I want to talk about is a film called Infinite. This film was released last year. I think it was an Amazon original film, and it was bloody awful. It was a cookie cutter, by the numbers action film with absolutely no heart, no soul, and it was fairly dull. And it just had these highly polished action scenes that just meant nothing. It was about these immortals that can kind of live forever, and I don't know. It was really, really not very good at all, and I was certainly not impressed by it. So definitely, in my opinion, Infinite is not a good film. The next good film I want to talk about from Mark Wahlberg is actually one of my favourite comedies. It is Ted. The first time I saw Ted, I was absolutely in shock. I couldn't believe what they got away with in the film. It was, in a lot of ways, highly offensive, but undeniably hilarious. I absolutely loved it. And one compliment I will give Mark Wahlberg, he is quite good in regards to touching himself into certain genres. I mean, he's pretty good at comedy. He's got pretty good comedy timing. But for me, Ted was just absolutely hilarious, and it was really, really a very, very strong comedy. I did enjoy Ted 2. It's not as good as the first one, but it is still a fairly decent sequel. But for me, the first one is outstanding and very, very funny indeed. The next bad film I want to talk about from Mark Wahlberg is his most recent release. It is Uncharted. I absolutely was distraught with this film. It was so bad, in my opinion. It was nothing like the games, and it had some of the worst casting I've ever seen in a film. Tom Holland is never Nathan Drake. But worse than that, Mark Wahlberg is not Sully. And if you've played the games, you know who Sully is. You know Mark Wahlberg is not Sully. So for me, it was poor casting putting him in this film. And I'm not saying Mark Wahlberg made this film bad, but the film itself is bad, and he was terribly miscast in it. So in my opinion, it's a bad film. The next good film that I want to talk about is another comedy. And this is the film that he did with Will Ferrell, The Other Guys, the buddy cop action comedy that I just thought was very, very good. I've watched it a few times now, and it gets better every time I watch it. It's got a great cameo by Dwayne Johnson and Samuel L. Jackson. Michael Keaton is absolutely brilliant in the film as well as like their captain in the police department. But this was the start of the great chemistry between Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, and in my opinion, this is the best film they've made together. It's very, very funny, and they've got great chemistry, so a good film by Mark Wahlberg. The next bad film by Mark Wahlberg, and this is one I will probably explore a little bit deeper in my video game movie reviews, because I will get around to reviewing it in more depth, but it is Max Payne. This film is actually painful to watch. I'm a big fan of the Max Payne games, and if you've played a lot of games and you're a gamer, you know who Max Payne is. And trust me, Mark Wahlberg is not Max Payne. Again, terrible casting in a video game movie. I don't know why they thought to put Mark Wahlberg in this Max Payne film. He didn't portray the character the way he should have been portrayed, and the film itself is just pretty average at best. So definitely, in my opinion, a poor outing for Mark Wahlberg there. The next good film, in my opinion, for Mark Wahlberg is arguably the best film that he's been in, but he's not the main star in it, but he is in it, and it is The Departed. The Martin Scorsese film. Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson, Leonardo DiCaprio are the main players here in this film, but Mark Wahlberg does have a decent part in it. I'm not a massive fan of Martin Scorsese, but The Departed is undeniably a good film, and Mark Wahlberg certainly plays his part in that part in the film and does a good job. The next bad film that Mark Wahlberg has made, in my opinion, is Planet of the Apes, the 2001 remake of the sci-fi classic. The best thing about this film is the effects. It's the Tim Burton film. Mark Wahlberg, again, no charisma, no personality in this film. I couldn't root for him, and it was just a really dull attempt at remaking the classic. They did a much better job when they brought it back and kind of reinvented the franchise with the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes films. This one is dull and unforgettable, and it is just not a good film. For me, the fifth great film, or good film if you want to say, that Mark Wahlberg has made is Boogie Nights. The film that really put Mark Wahlberg on the map. I mean, the first film I remember seeing him in was Fear, which is a decent film, but this was definitely the first film that put Mark Wahlberg squarely on the map. He's good in the film. Burt Reynolds is great in the film. It's a really good film that kind of shines a light on the porn industry in the 70s. I haven't seen it for a long time, actually. I will actually look to add it to my collection, but definitely worth checking out if you've not seen Boogie Nights, and it is definitely a good Mark Wahlberg film. And the last bad, well, to make it a 5 anyway, he's made a few more bad ones, but we'll put it on this list, is Transformers Age of Extinction. Now, he made 2 Transformers films, so you could say both of them, really. They're both as bad as each other. To be fair, the Transformers franchise died after the first film. They've all been pretty terrible. I think the only reason he probably agreed to be in it was because he knew it was a home run and it was going to be a box office hit for him. Terrible films that he did, and this one is terrible too. I couldn't even tell you what the plot is about. That's how forgettable the film is. It's just, again, special effects vomited all over the screen with Mark Wahlberg running about screeching here and there. It is just not a very good film at all. So that's 5 good films from Mark Wahlberg, 5 bad films from Mark Wahlberg. Let me know in the comments if there's any more good films from Mark Wahlberg that you want to add, and any more bad films from Mark Wahlberg that you want to add. But we aren't finished yet. We have got one damn ugly film that Mark Wahlberg has made, and this is a film that nearly killed careers for many people. And it is, of course, The Happening, the M. Night Shyamalan film that certainly put him out into the cold for a few years in Hollywood. The concept is decent, about, nature turning against mankind. The idea is good. The execution is horrifically bad. I think even if you'd have put Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Jack Nicholson, Dustin Hoffman all in this film, they couldn't have convinced us to be scared of plants. So Mark Wahlberg certainly is not going to do that. His performance is hilariously bad, and it's all credit to him, really, just to a large degree, that he managed to pull his career back after this film, because it is a really terrible performance in a shockingly bad film that has gone down as arguably one of the worst films of all time, and easily the worst film in Mark Wahlberg's catalogue, and he's made some stinkers, as we have discussed. So I hope you enjoyed this video. 5 good, 5 bad, and 1 ugly film. Focusing on Mark Wahlberg. Please let me know in the comments if there's anybody else you would like me to do one of these videos on, and of course I will take that into consideration. But I certainly hope you enjoyed this first outing. So thank you very much for watching, everybody.